you ready for a little Southern humor mixed with relevant topics we can all relate to? We're about to pull back the curtains and mix it up. Scoot your chair up. It's time to talk about all the things and ask all the questions. Welcome to Get It Together, y'all.
Hi, I'm so glad you joined us today. We have got a crazy show. It's going to be really fun. You're going to really be interested. Pull up your chair. We're kind of lounging here, and we're going to have a good time. We're going to talk about a topic that I find very fascinating, and I have two people in my life that can speak into it. So I've got questions, and I know you guys are going to have questions, and hopefully we'll get around to all of it. You are watching Get It Together, y'all, and my name is Cindy Larson, and I'm your host, and my co-host is
April Potter,
and we are loving the fact that we can just have good conversations, and we hope that you are enjoying and finding all of our content really interesting. We are having a blast. I told somebody, and I think I said it to you just a little bit ago, but I'm having the time of my life. Like, are you kidding me right now? I kind of grew up on a stage, kind of on a platform. So being in the public light was comfortable for me. Being kind of, living in a kind of a social media has not been that weird for me.
It's not scary at all for you.
It's not scary at all. And
Nope.
So we, a few weeks ago, I was just kind of brainstorming about all the conversations that I feel like that I want to have with some very interesting friends. And I called up Miss April over here, and I said, talk to me, because you're in the social media world and part of your entertainment business model. And I said, talk to me about what is involved in doing a podcast. And she said, well, she had all this information. And she said, I've always kind of wanted to do that. I said, you want to be my sidekick? So we started this, and hopefully you're enjoying it. We're getting some amazing feedback. But today I want you to meet a couple of friends of mine, Molly Armour. She's over here. Say hi, Molly. You can speak.
Hello.
And she's got the most crazy, she lives this crazy life among the Amish community, and I can't wait to kind of dig into that. And it's so fascinating, and I want you to kind of tell us how you got into it and all that stuff in a second.
Okay.
And then I called up my old friend who I hadn't seen in a really long time, Ann Lockwood. There is a lot of ground that we have to cover. I mean, we don't have to do it on camera, but we lived a life together, and it's been a while. I don't know how many years do you think it's been? And when I called you about this, were you like, Cindy Larson? Like, what in the world? Like, do you still have the same phone number? Because I think I text your I still have the same number too. So we're old school. We get new phones, but we keep our same number.
Yeah, you're probably in my phone somewhere.
Yeah. It's so funny. But you know what? Here's the thing about me, and now I found that out about you, just in kind of calling you to come and pull up your chair with us, we can kind of pick up where we left off.
Definitely.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. So
that's a real good friend when you can do that.
Yeah. It's a good quality person, because sometimes, life happens to all of us. And so you think, oh man, I don't even know you anymore. And there's some stuff to catch up on, but I am myself, and we can kind of just like kick it. Like, let's figure out. So, anyway, today's going to be so much fun. I thank you guys for coming and, participating in this. And, Molly and April, they kind of do music together. I don't know if you guys will talk about that at all or whatever, but you can talk about anything. I just want to say, I don't tell anybody what to say. So kind of just, we have a disclaimer at the end of the show, don't we, that kind of says, hey, everybody speaks for themselves. And it
Right.
doesn't necessarily mean, we don't go off a script.
Right.
So,
We may not all agree, but we all learn to talk to each other.
I love it
and
when
that's
we don't
part
agree.
of why we did this, you know. We can sit down and agree to disagree, and it's okay.
I love it. Because how, if two people always agree, one person's not necessary. I mean, am I right? Have you ever thought about it that way?
No.
Well, I mean, like,
haven't.
but you can, that gives people permission to just kind of like air some ideas. The other thing, I know some people live alone and they don't have somebody to like, throw an idea out there and see if it sticks.
That's me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so how do you like go through life and just like, I think my own thoughts and I just get into my own head, but then you don't have pillow talk with somebody that goes, yeah, how did that feel when that came out? Because I don't think, that's probably what you actually meant. No, it really isn't what I meant. And then you can kind of reframe it. But when you are by yourself, like, I think that we need conversations.
Yeah, I pick random people to call and say, like Cheryl, like, hey, can you deal with this problem with me?
Yeah, can
Yeah.
we just
Can
talk
you
about
help me?
this? Because
Yeah.
sometimes when we talk about something, it sounds different when it comes out of our mouth. And you go, ooh, I'm glad I kind of did a trial run on that, because I don't think that, that didn't come out this, but hey, this is why we like podcasts, because it's unplugged and we just kind of roll. So hopefully you will enjoy our conversation today. A few things that we like to do just to get kicked off. Like April and I liked to talk about Southern mothers. See this little sign? We have Southern mothers, and so we have guests on here that also had Southern mothers. We want to hear if you had a Southern mother, and we've had an Australian mother on the show, and she was legitimately Southern.
Yep.
Like,
Southern
she
shit.
let us know
Southern.
she was the most Southern that you could get is from her homeland. And so we had to like show some respect. But Southern mothers, some people don't have Southern mothers and they need to have some little Southern mother information. So some of our audience might need a little Southern mother help. But then if you had a Midwestern mother or whatever, if there's any, I'm just going to open it up. Was your mother Southern?
She was not Southern.
No. So where was she from?
My mother is from Germany, and
Okay.
we're from Switzerland and Germany, but we were born and raised in Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
So was your mother raised in Germany? Or
No,
Switzerland?
the story goes that we escaped Germany, Christian persecution, I believe.
Okay.
So that's where we came from. But
Okay.
they ended up in Pennsylvania and then Lancaster, and so my mother grew up Amish,
Uh-huh.
as well as my dad, and my grandfather was a Old Order Amish preacher.
Wow.
Yeah,
Bishop.
So bishop, he was a bishop. Yes. So I have a very northerner Mennonite mother.
Wow. We're going to get, and that's why I can't wait to get into that. So we'll touch on the whole connection there, because I want to hear some serious things about your mama. We're going to follow down some trails of your mama. What about your mama?
My mother died when I was 25, and I was a mama's girl, and she was definitely Southern. So we always had a garden, and she canned stuff, and she was a great cook, and just the cutest little ball of energy you ever saw.
Did she have something that you kind of carry with you today and you go, oh, that's just like my mother? Something she said or a way she was? Like if I knew your mother and I saw you do something, like what do you do that's like her or say or?
I don't know. I don't know.
Did you look like her?
I look like my dad. I look like
Okay.
just like my dad.
Were you
But
close with your mother?
my mother and I were tight. I was a mama's girl, and I didn't really like my dad when I was growing up.
Okay.
I like him now.
Okay.
So
Did she? So you can't really.
Yeah,
I know I
she
put
was
you on
like the
spot.
most beautiful lady on the planet, and she was Miss Madison County, which is in Jackson,
What?
Tennessee. Yes, of course. And she was spoiled like really bad, and so I'm the baby, so I was spoiled really bad. So
Yeah,
yeah, we were
that's
just
how that goes.
yeah.
Well, so she was a beauty pageant person.
It was when she was like 5 years old.
Oh,
Yeah.
a cute little baby
Yeah, like-
pageant person.
Yeah, like a little Shirley Temple.
Oh my gosh, how
Yeah.
cute.
Yeah.
You know, there's just a lot of debate on whether that's a good thing, but I think, I mean, the baby pageants kind of got a bad rep with some of the, but it's kind of adorable.
Yes.
Huh.
Yes.
Do you have pictures?
I do. I finally got lots of pictures.
Oh, is she passed or she?
Yeah, she passed away when I was 25.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
well, you're not much older than that now, right?
I'm 43.
No way. Ladies and
No.
gentlemen, this young lady is,
She doesn't look
I
43.
love it. Okay.
Thanks.
You're just
Thank you.
you just
Nice.
maybe 28. I don't know, but in the not
20s.
in the 40s.
Well, I get that from my mom. Okay, if I
Okay.
get anything from mom and my grandmother, I mean, even my grandmother at 95, she didn't even have a wrinkle. Like, I don't even understand. I had
Yeah.
more wrinkles than my grandmother, but and my mom looked super young and all that.
Wow.
And all my friends were like, "Ooh, Miss Jan."
She was the mama. Oh, you want to say anything about your mama?
Yes, always.
She's June
So I was just
Cleaver.
saying, yes, Miss June Cleaver. And so she was always like, I mean, and still to this day, she just finds the best in everybody. And so, like, I literally remember one time telling her about something that somebody did or happened, and I think they like murdered somebody. I mean, like it was like a big crime, and she's like, "Yeah, but we just don't know what they've been through in their life." And I'm like, "It's true. It's so true." But she's so cute because she just, she always looks at the best, and she's taught us to always try to do that for people too. So, I mean, I try to do that, you know. But she's just an exception. I mean, she always is looking for the best.
My
That's
mama
awesome.
says something that's so funny. She and my dad are like two peas in a pod. They're old school, like she's very much of a, caregiver. Like she makes breakfast every morning, and I mean just all this old school stuff. They're hilarious. And but my mom, when she gets real ticked at him, she'll call him a bale of hay. She go, "You old bale of hay." Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
It makes no sense to me. But you know what? A bale of hay is kind of prickly and it doesn't move. And it's kind of, it's like you just
That's
want to.
her word.
Yeah, that's her word. So my Southern mother tip is if you want to call your husband something and you want to like leave him scratching his head and not knowing if it was, exactly what, you can just call him a bale of hay. That leaves a lot unsaid. We're going to move over to the fun facts. Do you have a fun fact
I
today? So I'm obsessed with our fun facts segment. So this is so
We're
much fun.
learning so much.
We are learning
We
so
didn't
much.
know.
You go. I've got some.
So my dad is a twin.
Oh.
He's an identical twin, actually. I don't know if you knew that
No,
or
I
not.
didn't know that.
And so there's lots and lots of stories with that because they just mess with people all the time because they really do look a lot alike. But my random fun fact is, did you know that identical twins don't have the same fingerprints? Even though they're so identical in so many different ways, but they do not have the same fingerprints.
Do you know
That's
that
God.
everybody's tongue has a different print too, just like your finger? So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's kind of, I don't know. Have you ever been like, we would never be asked, I don't know why that's even a thing, but I just read it.
So now we know.
This is one that kind of, if I'm being real, this one kind of like creeps me out a little bit, but we are never more than 3 feet away from a spider.
Oh, that doesn't bother me.
It doesn't bother you? Does it bother you?
No.
Because you're
I'm
yeah. Does it bother you?
No, mice bother me. Spiders do not.
Okay, the exception. So a lot of people have a real phobia of spiders, though.
Yes,
But
they
the
do.
exception is if you're swimming because they don't get in the water, and they don't like planes, trains, and automobiles. It's very rare that a spider would be in an automobile.
I've had plenty in my cars.
You have?
Yes.
So that one's...
So you're the exception.
Never mind. Never mind.
I'm sorry. I live in the country.
She lives in the country.
So your spiders live in the country car. You can actually die laughing. You can die laughing.
What?
You can. It has been known to cause a heart attack.
Cardiac arrest.
Yes.
Wow.
So I'd say if I gotta die, I hope I die laughing. Because like I can't live. Well, there was a time I went to my doctor and I said, I'm just so sad, and I'm just so like I was just explaining this, I don't want to get out of bed, and he's like with his pen and going, well, it's called depression. And I'm going, what? And he said, I can give you something for that. I'm going, I don't know. And so I took this prescription, and I started taking it for a while, and it leveled off my sadness, but it also took away my joy. Like I couldn't feel like I didn't belly laugh, and I didn't like I guess nothing. I was kind of numb top and bottom, and I just like, forget this. I'll deal with the lows if I got to give up laughing.
How old were you?
Well, I was menopausal, so
Okay, yeah.
does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
My issue.
We're going to have a program on menopause.
Perimenopause,
There is
please.
a lot to say about that. We need to talk about it.
Yes.
We do not help these young girls that are going through this. We
I
don't
mean
get
it.
you.
It's
We don't get
awful.
you prepared enough. Listen, I am almost 61, and I can tell you some stuff. So we'll get to that. That's not this show, but we will. But I tell you, I didn't want to lose my joy. Like I can't not laugh. Y'all are so with me. I'm so glad. All right, you got another one?
I do. 60% of the lakes in the earth are in Canada.
60%?
Did not know that. Yeah, that's a
Wow.
lot. I mean, that's like a huge percent.
Man, okay. Where this explains this fun fact explains a lot about, and you're gonna fill in the blanks, and I want you. Wearing a tie reduces your blood flow to the brain by 7.5%.
Wow.
Wearing a necktie. That explains politics. That explains businessmen. That
Yes.
explains a lot.
Yeah,
Of,
your tie's too
Yeah.
tight, honey.
I think the next time,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
The next time somebody is just not thinking straight, I'm going, loosen your tie.
Yeah.
A little bit. I think you're just like,
You're at 14% at this point.
isn't that a funny fact?
That is
That
funny.
is.
You got okay.
I'll never look at ties the same.
Okay,
No.
listen. A chicken. This is crazy. A chicken once lived 18 months without a head.
Right.
They did.
That's not real.
That is so real.
That is
It was in the
photoshopped.
1400s. There was another one that similar happened in 2018. But in the 1400s, this one lived so long, and the farmer named him Mike. And they fed him with eyedroppers down a stump in his neck.
Oh.
Wow.
My goodness.
So you don't need a brain to live.
Well, enough of the I don't know. I just thought that was the funniest thing. 18 months though. The farmer even moved to he moved all his wife and family, and they moved Mike with them. He ended up dying in a whole different state. But they had been killing all their chickens, and they came back to they were the next level of processing, and this chicken was just running around, with his head
With
cut
his head
off.
cut off,
Yes,
literally.
Yes.
I have a memory of being chased by a chicken without a head.
Are
And
you
I was
kidding?
like 4.
Were you
lived on a
scared?
farm.
How
Yes.
long has it been since you've thought about
So
that?
your family had Mike? Is that
We
what you're
must have
saying?
had Mike. We must have had Mike's
You had a
relatives. Yes.
Well, they will run around for a while,
Yes.
just their body on muscle memory or whatever.
Neat.
Just the, ooh, yeah.
I don't like that.
I ran
Yeah.
into the house and pulled up a chair.
How
shut
long,
the door.
Have you ever told anybody about this?
I have, and I think I
Did
thought,
they not
thought I
believe
was
you?
no. Like, how is that possible? But
No, they did.
now I see it's possible.
It is possible
Yes.
because and if you go online and Google this, you'll see a picture of Mike.
I want to Google this.
She wants to see
my
Mike.
goodness.
Yeah.
You're gonna find it. It's all over the internet. I saw it several places because I thought I'm not gonna talk about this on the podcast because somebody's gonna say that's not true. And then it's like, yeah, you're saying it's not true. Oh, you look it up in the 1400s. Somewhere
That's
it
funny.
even had the farmer's wife name and the farmer's name and all that. So it's a thing.
Yeah.
It's a thing. You can, yeah. But it would be scary. It would leave. It would mark you.
I think I was 4 or 6,
Yeah.
Yeah, being little like that.
but
You're like, what is happening?
I just always thought we're the ones who cut his head off, and
And now he's chasing me.
you.
Yes.
He's chasing you because you were so well.
so mean to him.
Okay, this is crazy. And then we're gonna get into the topic, but animals. So scientists say, and I think I need to be a scientist because you can say anything, and how can you prove it? But scientists say that animals experience time differently than humans, and I want to
Yes.
know how they know.
I've always
this.
heard that about your dog. Like they don't know how long you're really gone.
Yeah.
But I always say, I'm going to church, I'll be right back, or I'm going to town, I'll be right back.
They don't
They
understand
don't
you.
know, and they don't know if you've been gone like 5 hours or a day or 5 minutes.
Yeah, I read it. I read that they think it's their fault that you left.
Oh,
Isn't that sad?
So I heard that cats come and lick your face in the morning to see if you're still alive.
Oh, mine never does.
mine
so
never
she
checks
doesn't
on
care.
me.
Never does. So that's write that down. That's not true. Well, have you heard that if you do die at home, your cat will eat your face off within 10 hours? What? Yes.
I have a Bengal cat. So
You're
she's
traumatizing her today. Aunt's traumatized.
Yes.
I did not
come.
know
That's
that.
why they come and check on you to see if you're breathing, and if you're not, they're going to start eating your face off.
Oh,
Gosh,
So Google that.
Is she telling the truth?
You know what?
I'm looking that one up
mentioned
when
that,
I go home.
I mentioned that to a couple of friends of mine, the PTO ladies. We were having dinner, and I said, "A couple of y'all are cat people. I just heard this today," and they're like, "No, we've heard that too."
Wow.
So yeah, you can let me know. You
I
can
will look
text
that
me.
up. I
You're
have a
gonna
black
text
cat in my house.
me.
I have a fun
Okay.
fact.
What?
On average, Amish have 100 grandchildren apiece and 1,000 great grandchildren on average.
My gosh,
Wow.
100.
that is so. We're getting
How do
into
you
this.
even, how
We're
do you
getting
even
into
keep
this.
up with their names? That's crazy.
I mean, and to think that they have 10 kids apiece on average, the ones around my,
and then
that's-
they have 10.
and then they have 10. So, like, they're taking over. And I tell them that.
Wow.
They're definitely,
That's crazy. I want
and they're
you-
buying up every piece. When you're driving around and you're wondering, wonder where that land is between this road and this parallel road right here. You know, it's like a long way off. You're like,
Yeah.
I wonder what's that's the Amish. You know,
Okay.
it's like they're just hidden around everywhere.
Wow. So I want to go back, Molly, and whatever you want to share, because this is an open time for you to kind of. We know that now. I've already established with our audience that you have a business with the Amish, but go back and kind of get us there, because in all of our shows we have like umbrella categories, and this show is in the My Tribe category, and sometimes I'll have like friend circles on, and My Tribe that's easily kind of, you can put 2 and 2 together on that. But I wanted this show to be My Tribe because you have a new tribe. You have all these friends you would have never had you not started your business, and they love you and you love them.
Yeah.
And but how did you get there? Like, go back and take us back a few years.
Okay, so Well, I graduated from Murray State and with an engineering degree, and I worked for Boeing. Worked on the 787 program in Wichita, Kansas, for 8.5 years as an engineer, a stress engineer, and then I went through a divorce where he cheated on me and broke my heart, like the only guy I've ever really cared about, and at that point, and he broke my heart, so I started using drugs, and I lost my job, and then I started getting in trouble. And so I think I've been arrested for 56 different crimes.
Oh, girl.
And but
From what age to what age did all this occur?
all this happened after the age of like 35 to 40, like 34 to 40,
Wow.
right there. And then
It's a busy 6 years.
it really was. It was constant. Yeah. Well, every time they pull you over, they give you 6 charges. But
Wow.
I fought my cases, and I'm not a felon, but I'm on a diversion for a felony, and so I needed something to do while I was waiting on my diversion to be over, and so, which it's over in April now, but now I kind of like the business. Cada's is just, I've learned from the Amish, that was one of the questions I was thinking, like, what have I learned? Well, business is what I've learned. They're so simple in their business. They grow some flowers and they sell them. You know what I mean? Or they have some cows and they milk them, or they, it puts it back to where it's not so complicated for me. And so, and then plus Mike and the people in my church, they're all business people. Cheryl's a business person, so I just am surrounded by it, and the Lord just put me there. And I actually ended up there because of a bad reason, but then it's just God just turned it around. I started.
So did you just have an idea? Because what do you actually do with them?
So I bought first a van, and then started driving them, and then.
Because they don't drive.
Right. They drive horse and buggy. They only drive horse and buggy. They're the old order Lancaster County Amish. And they don't even have buttons. That's one thing though. Why don't you have buttons? No. They like pin up their little clothes every day, spend all that time. And then just they're not gonna change. They're gonna be they're steadfast, but anyway, so right now I have 3 big vans, a car, 3/4 ton trucks, some trailers, and I have about three or four people that drive for me every.
Isn't that incredible?
It is awesome. I didn't even know. I never even thought about this until I met you. Like how they got long distances,
Yeah, and they'll just call like, Molly, could you please take me to Pennsylvania? Someone passed away, and right now, like, wait, you need me to come right now? Like I was, okay, hold on, let me think, can I make this happen? And then, yes, I always want to say yes. So that's my answer. I always want to say yes.
Yeah.
That's why I don't know. I hardly do say no now because I've got plenty of people to
what
drive.
Kind of, what was the day like that you were just like sitting on your chair and going, wonder what kind of business I could start? And it's like, I think I'm going to drive around the Amish people. Like what happened with that?
No, it was Mike Sheldon was like, you should drive the Amish, and you're a great driver. And then it was just like, okay. And I walked out.
He just was aware of the need.
After jail, I had to work at Cracker Barrel. Not that that's a bad job. I loved working at Cracker Barrel. I loved being a server. But then one night I walked out and it wasn't pretty. But and then I was just like, and Mike's like, just drive the Amish. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I've never even met an Amish. So the first time I picked an Amish up was the first time I met an Amish person. But and it was pretty.
Do you remember their name?
Christy B. Stolzfus. Yep. And then the second one.
Think of like Jebediah and
Oh yeah, Eli and Jonas and all that.
So I have a question.
Yes.
What do they think about your driving? there's this little bitty Molly that's coming to pick them up. What do they think when you get there?
I think they are you. That
Do they
first question:
care
Are
if
you
I-
Molly?
Yeah.
Are you Molly? Are
Yeah.
you actually Molly? You know, or are you one of her drivers? But most I know them so much now. Like I mean, they just tell me a name and I don't need an address. I just know exactly where I'm going.
Right.
But it took a
So
long time.
how many do you actually work for or work with?
That's what I'm saying. I have 500 employers. You know.
Wow.
I mean, basically, there's
So that's your
there's five.
tribe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's 500 Amish families in my Tri-County area. So I don't know them all, but I mean, the ones I do know, they call me back a lot unless I'm late. Like I was I was laughing at somebody today because at the last minute, like, can you take us to Scottsville? A bale of hay dropped on our driver's head and he's in the
Oh.
hospital. I'm like, okay, so this is the type of stuff
Yeah.
you're dealing with chickens but anyway, so that can you take us to Scottsville in the morning? And like at 9:00 last night, I'm like at 4:00 in the morning, by the way. It's like, okay, yeah, we can make it happen. So then so I was talking to him and I had been late. So what I'm trying to say is I was an hour late for picking them up one day, and so he had a long trip scheduled with me, and sure enough, like, he called and canceled because I was like, I know he was going to cancel on me, but he had to call me an emergency, and I was like desperate to be on time, and you know what I mean, like, so
Yeah.
we're back good again, like me and the whole group or whatever, but
Yeah.
but they can be picky because there's plenty of Amish drivers, you know what I mean,
Oh.
they have the ability to be picky.
Okay.
So
I didn't know that.
if-
I didn't know that either. I
Oh,
didn't-
little bitty things. Like, I mean, if you spend too much time in the gas station when we stop, or if you stop too many times, or, if you're a slow driver, they want you to drive fast, but they want to feel safe.
Yeah.
And I'm down with that. That's
Yeah.
exactly how I want to, if there's kids and babies in the car, I can't help it. I drive a lot more careful. If there's young, like, 17-year-olds, we might cut loose a little and laugh a little more, but, it just depends on the group.
Have you ever had like those 17-year-olds, like, say, off the record, can I ask you some questions?
Mm-mm.
No?
Nope.
Man.
So they're not curious
would.
about
Mm-mm.
any kind of life outside of what they know.
Mm-mm.
Wow.
Nope. I don't have that. But I have one of my drivers name's Robert, and he picked a man, Ike, and his son left the Amish and is on drugs and alcohol really bad, and I talked to my friend Mary last night. I was telling her about the podcast, and she was talking about that particular guy, and that now he's coming back around with the drugs and stuff, and sharing it with those, and so it's a real problem in the community right now. And so, Robert is like on the mission. He already got him into rehab, but he left, and so they have issues too, and
Yeah.
but they already know. I don't think there's anything they want to ask. I think they already know everything.
Yeah.
I mean, they're surrounded by the world because they're picked up by drivers. I mean,
But they do have a phone because they'll have phones.
they have this thing called a phone shack, so it has to be so many feet from their house. So do you know how many?
True. I don't know how many feet, but
It's pretty
you
far.
can't have it in the house.
Yeah, you can't even hear it from the house. Like,
Okay.
so they got to walk all the way down the street, and they share a phone shack with, like, a couple other families.
Yeah.
They share a freezer too. They like all throw in on one freezer and have to ride down there and put their peas in there. But they run on propane mostly. There's no electricity, and which to me, when I went to the Big Valley in Pennsylvania recently, I was scared because I always heard every little ghost story I ever heard is Pennsylvania, and then like I'm serious, and it's dark. And I went to the gas station. I was like, I'm kind of afraid out there. She goes, do not worry, it's dark in the valley. She's like, but it's very safe. I can assure you. It was a sweet little girl at the gas station.
Yeah.
But for me, I was wondering, like, was that scary? Did you have electricity and it was dark?
It's so because it's country, like there's have lights around like
Yeah.
we do, dusk at dawn lights, that kind of thing. I know all those back roads we know there's back roads with our eyes closed, but yeah, they are dark. But when you say valley, what did you mean?
The Big Valley
What's
in
the Big
Pennsylvania.
Valley?
Well, it's up more north from Lancaster. It's about an hour and a half or two.
Is it like Perry County? Do you remember? Is it in the mountains close to Harrisburg?
It's not close to Harrisburg. It's a little bit south of Harrisburg. Yeah. All right. If you're at Harrisburg and you went west about 45 minutes, that's where Big Valley is.
Big Valley.
Yeah.
See, a lot of people, the Amish, have had to move out to the valley and
Okay.
into an hour and a half. We have from Lancaster. We have our where our cabin is, and but a lot of the Amish had to move out that way because they're big families. There's
So go back and kind of get us caught up to how you, as we kind of got her into her life today. Go back and how'd you live? How are you in Tennessee, and like how'd you grow up?
okay. So my dad was always, I guess, knew that he didn't want to be Amish.
Okay.
So I always forget how many's in their family, like 8 or 9, and he was the first to leave, I believe.
Okay.
So he was pretty well, looked down upon because, like I said, my grandfather was a bishop.
Yeah.
But at that time, this is so interesting. My uncle left. Maybe he was the first one to leave. He left the Amish, and they put him in, like, they shunned him.
Okay.
And so when they do that, that's a whole ordeal. And some people never really recover from
Do
that.
they have like a full-on funeral and all of that, or
Well,
is it just a
I'm
public?
not talking to you or
Yeah, oh, it's very much that way. They will drive with somebody like her, but they will not drive with him.
Okay.
Only because he was a member of the church.
Okay.
And because he chose to leave.
Okay.
So at one point, I don't know if they still do this, but they literally would like read a scripture that handed you over to the devil.
Okay.
So it was really harsh, and a lot of people still believe in that. What they say in the bond, they put him in the bond. It's like a mighty.
Okay.
And so we grew up with my uncle who was not able to eat with his family, and we had to separate the tables like this. And my family, because we had left as well, we always sat with Uncle Dave.
So you still lived under the same roof, even though you left the Amish. Is that what you're saying?
So my dad left. Then when my dad left, there was a pastor from the Amish had left. So that's the only time that it was like a free pass to go and not be ostracized. So my dad had a different treatment. So when we ate like that, it was like at Christmas time. And
Gotcha.
Different
okay.
thing.
so you could still
So you
get
could-
together.
We would get together, and my family, my dad's family, and us kids, we were all allowed to eat with everyone, but my Uncle Dave was not. So we always just made a point to be with him.
Yeah.
So we grew up with him and vice versa. Like he was always in and out of our house because his family didn't have much to do with it. And they won't drive with him to this day for the most part.
Does he drive Amish now?
Most of them won't drive with him just
Oh,
because
okay,
of that. He chose to leave at that time. Now my dad, who chose to leave at a different time, he never got treated like that.
Okay.
And then my dad was
interesting.
ordained in I always say Mennonite. It was kind of like a Amish Mennonite church. He was ordained a bishop in that church.
Okay.
So his church, he died, he's been gone now like 6 years, but he was a big name in that church as like, it was like a stepping stone. When people would leave the Amish, they would go to my dad's church, which was called Spring Garden Amish.
That's cool.
Yeah, so it was a place that they can go and learn about salvation and know that they're saved. That was really big on my dad's heart, is to teach about salvation, end times, and things like
Separate
that.
it from the
Right.
community
Of the way
of
that
the
they were raised. They wanted
Yeah.
a little bit more. They wanted to read their Bibles.
Yeah.
They wanted to have Bible study, so they were free to do that in my dad's church.
Yeah. Very interesting. I just find this all so fascinating, and the fact that the Amish community, like you're aware of and you're aware of too, just from family, but it's still very much alive, but we don't have it in our forefront because they're private people. So we don't have a lot of people like you all who we can ask these questions, and I just have a lot of questions. I don't know that I could be Mennonite because they don't wear makeup.
Oh, and I was
Do
wearing
they?
makeup when I was 14.
Okay,
And,
okay.
but yeah, I was the same way. I
Yeah.
can't live like this.
Yeah.
So I left at 21.
Yeah.
And I'm the oldest of 6 kids, and I was the first to leave. And my dad just could not believe that this was happening because
Yeah.
he knew if I left, the rest of the kids would leave.
Uh-huh.
And eventually they all did.
So, what was the driving factor for you or your uncle to want to leave?
I can't speak for my uncle. For my dad, he wanted all the toys. He wanted to have a car.
Yeah.
That was the main thing.
That's
he wanted
what
to
I was
drive.
wondering. Yeah.
And I think I was about 4. I think we decided I was 4 when we sold our horse and buggy. So I feel like I remember when we sold
About
that
the
day.
age of the chicken running around.
Well, yeah, but it was a different location, so
Okay.
yeah, I have to figure that out. That was when after we moved that we sold the horse and buggy. But then my uncle Dave actually lived with us for a while. Was in and out of our house a lot, just because he was just kind of on his own out there.
Yeah.
He never married.
Wow.
Yeah, and he's still in our life.
Did the
today.
world get a hold of him, or is he still like a
No,
real Christian man?
He is a Christian man.
like a moral
Man.
Yeah.
I feel like they really flounder after they leave. Like, if they don't go to my dad's church and find that middle ground, they're just kind of.
So your dad still pastors today?
Well, he did. He died.
Okay, you
6
said
years
he
ago.
died.
Yeah,
Does
and but the
the
church.
church-
Yes.
So you want to plug that? Like
That is the
where
coolest thing I've
in-
heard.
Yeah.
I love
Where
that.
where in Pennsylvania?
So it's Spring Garden.
Okay.
Spring Garden, Pennsylvania, and it's Spring Garden Church, and they still have a lot of my dad's what he believed in the church was for. Still have the same.
Very
So
cool.
you said something like you were free to have Bible study and free to read your Bible. Are they not in the Amish?
They are not.
What?
They do not.
Yeah.
They are not. They are to listen to the pastor or to the preacher. They go by what he says, and they are very frowned upon if they start a Bible study, because if you start learning the truth, you're not going to stay.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
that's
Not encouraged to be an independent thinker.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
We don't have buttons.
I noticed that's the one thing that I have not had a deep conversation with them about is the Lord, or is the Bible or religion or anything like that. Like we'll talk about it, and they're just clam up. They don't. It's the weirdest. And when they pray, I want to tell y'all how they pray right before before they eat. Okay, so the patriarch, whoever that may be, it may be the daddy, the granddad, or the father, he will like bow his head, and everybody bows their head, and you pray in silence. And then when he raises his head, he kind of makes a little noise, and then everybody raises their head, and then they do the exact same thing when they're done eating. I just find it fascinating.
When they go to pray, now I haven't been around them recently, but growing up, they would say, we're doing Patty's Nona, which means hands down. They don't say we're going to pray. They tell their kids, like, Patty's Nona, and that means pray
Okay.
before you eat.
Okay.
So you can say Patty's Nona sometimes.
Okay. well,
So I don't know. So what is this you're talking? Like, is this another language or
Pennsylvania Dutch.
Dutch?
I'm sure you've heard them talk.
yeah, Pennsylvania
That's-
Dutch.
Talk it. Uh-huh.
There's no written language. So
It's been passed down.
yes, it's just a spoken language, and a lot of the words sound a lot like ours, and a lot of them don't. But and then so what they learn in school from first grade to eighth grade, they only go to eighth grade, and then they learn how to write and read in English and in German, and they sing songs in English and German. And then they learn math and enough. They're smart. They are smart. They can remember anything. I mean, because they just do. I remember phone numbers, millions of them. But yeah, you can't get one by on them or anything like that. They know.
Yeah, they're not dumb. I have an interesting story. My grandmother died probably 10 years ago, and I just happened to be in Lancaster when she died. I would not have gone up for the funeral, but since I was there, I was like, You need to
Yeah.
go to Grandma's funeral. I was like,
Yeah.
okay. So I went, and they have it in the barn, and all of a sudden I'm like, wait, I really do have a lot of Amish cousins. I kind of forget because
Yeah.
I'm down here and I've been so
Yeah.
far removed from it. And I'm like, this is how I could have grown up.
Yeah.
And so afterwards, they came to us, and they were so excited that we were there. And they said, you know, like, because everything was done in German. And they said, did you understand the message at all? And we were like, yeah, we could totally understand it. But then I said, but I didn't understand the German reading out of the Bible. And they said, we don't either.
Yeah.
Then,
Wow.
So it's just the hierarchy, the pastor.
The
they don't even
Bible.
call it pastor.
Yeah.
It's the
Bishop.
bishop, the preacher. He's the only one who knows. That's why it's really hard for them to accept when they are ordained,
Yeah.
because they need to learn all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that German Bible. It looks like a real pain to try to
And
learn.
not everyone knows that. So when you become that, you have to learn that.
Wow.
Isn't that interesting? Are
All
you
of
guys
it's so
finding this
interesting.
interesting? I am so interested in this.
I have like 500 more questions.
Oh my gosh, it's so great. And you know, when I ask you, it's like we want to talk about it's so second nature to you, like, well, what's interesting about that? It's like and I'm not interested in, like, you know, bashing or making fun. I have so many questions, and it's like when you grew up in this, it was just part of, you know, I grew up in a weird way. It was my family traveled, and I grew up on a bus, and so I felt the same way. People would say, "What is it like to grow up on a bus?" I'm going, "You just, you know, what are you talking about? Like, it's just normal. It's what we do." And I was in a different hotel every night, did my schoolwork sitting cross-legged on a bed or a bunk, and to me it was just life. And so when I ask you, like, tell me about that, it's really fascinating. And I'm sure it's probably not something that you kind of revisit in your everyday life. So kind of stirring up some of these memories. I just love it. I think it's so great. My family has a lot of really good friends in Iowa, and we love visiting the Amana colonies. And I have a girlfriend who has a couple of businesses there, and I got to go to an Amish flower market or an auction, and that was so fascinating. And oh my goodness, I was just so fascinated, just even with the textiles, the handmade pants, and it's like, you know, the different things that all these men had the same material. Everybody had the same kind of material and the same, you know, not blue jeans, you know, these were hand sewn garments, and just really fascinating to me, and very kind people. You could tell they were very smart, and just old school. It's kind of like you go back in time. I am a brand rep for a company that's called Arbonne, and a few years ago we had a girl that did really, really well from the Amish community, and she would go to her local library and go to the computer and do business there. But she had a huge clientele from, just because it's a natural skincare and cosmetic company, and nutrition and stuff. And she won she would have won a car, like the car level, but because she was Amish, our company bought her a white horse and buggy.
Wow.
They
Wow.
brought a
Should have been pink.
horse
That's
over
cool.
from would have been pink in our brand. That was a different brand.
I know.
But they brought a horse over from England, and then presented her with a white buggy, and it was very cool. So I was proud of them for that, for adapting to her. And when she had to go to Las Vegas to get recognized, so she and all her girlfriends rode trains.
Oh yeah.
So that was interesting too. It took them like 2 weeks to get there.
Yeah, you gotta go to Chicago and then come back down.
Yeah. So very fascinating. Well, in your regular everyday life. So this is another part of the conversation that I think is interesting. We all have experienced the rise in groceries and the price of everything, and a lot of people are, kind of saying, well, how did my grandma make bread? I know my grandma made sourdough bread, and now it's such a thing. And everybody's, getting into some of these old, you know, we had a couple of generations where we just wanted everything packaged, and now there's a real hunger for gardening and canning and doing things kind of an old school way. And so in your life today, what can you tell our audience that you recommend? Like, do you garden, and have you lived in the city and still container gardening, or what did you do?
I have not had a garden over the years. Excuse me. My mom has in Pennsylvania. So a lot of times I'll go up there and steal her canned goods.
Yeah.
But I have a niece who she has a garden here in Ashland City.
Okay.
And actually, I was hoping she would come today, but she's
We'll
working.
get her.
Yeah.
She's
Get her
working
on.
on her garden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's something that she learned from her. Maybe not so much her mother as definitely my mom
Yeah.
or grandmother, and just she had an old order Amish grandmother, because my sister's married Amish boys.
Okay.
Even though they're not that anymore, they have a lot of history
Yeah.
that has been handed. And Kendra makes sourdough bread.
Yeah.
She makes her own little crackers, cheese crackers for her babies.
Oh.
And so it's neat to see that the next generation
Yeah.
is into it. And even my own daughter, who is so far removed from Mennonite as possible, just because we live down here and we're just not around it.
Mm-hmm.
But she has gone up to Kentucky and for pickles and cheese and things that
Yes.
she's used to getting at Mom's house
Yeah.
in Lancaster.
I love that.
Yeah, so Mom actually told us in Florida, we were in Florida with her in March, and she said, I want the girls to come up this summer. Jordan, my daughter, and Kendra, my niece, and then my future daughter-in-law, and we'll do some canning.
Oh,
That's
that's
awesome.
amazing.
So they're pretty excited about that.
Well, we want to dive into all that, and today, I mean, talk about your business, because you have a coffee business.
So growing up, we had a restaurant for 7 years, and that kind of enabled me to do what I do today. And I have always had a love for coffee, and I've always said I'm going to own a coffee shop. You can read in journals way back in 1997, I believe, I had one where it says, I'm going to own a coffee shop one day.
Aw, love it.
So
where
I was
is
able to
it?
live that dream. I have one in Hendersonville, and then there's one in Gallatin.
What's the name of it?
It's Cave Express, which is the drive-through in Hendersonville, and it's Cave at House of Haggai in Gallatin, because my business partner, that was her vision, is to have, God told her to read the book of Haggai and then kind of like to build the house where
Wow.
people can come and
What do you serve at the set? So how many people can you serve there? Like, what's your capacity, and what do you serve?
So we don't have we have pastries. We don't
Okay.
have a whole lot of food, but we do have the best coffee in town.
Okay.
And especially the one in Gallatin, you're able to come in, sit down. We highly encourage Bible studies. We have groups of all kinds that come in, meetings, men,
I've
women.
done business meetings there.
Yeah, I love that.
It's really good.
Would you recommend people calling and making an appointment, like reserving the space, or just it's kind of as you as availability? If you
We do reserve it. We do rent it out. We've had
Okay.
wedding parties there, graduation, birthday parties.
about how many people could?
I believe we can have 200-300, I believe.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty big space.
So do you make your own pastries, or do you have a chef that brings those in?
We have a chef that brings those in.
Yeah.
But we have in-house kitchen area that
Yeah.
we'd like to utilize.
What's
in the near
special
future.
about your coffee beans?
Our coffee beans come from Summit Coffee.
Okay.
And he just has a special blend for us that is exclusive to Cave.
Yeah.
It's an Indian roast that has 6 different beans blended together. And it really is a pretty special blend. It's pretty
Wow.
good. Yeah. So it makes a good Americano, good lattes.
Yeah,
We have a
that's what
good
I drink.
frozen.
I drink a black Americana.
Yep, you would love it.
Yeah. That's great. Man. Okay, going. We're going.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're gonna
That's
do a
good.
live. We're gonna do a live at the coffee shop.
You can do a live at the coffee
Oh
shop.
my gosh, we will
Yes.
so go live at
Yes,
the coffee
you
shop.
can do
like
that.
We
to
love
plug
our
every-
coffee.
Yeah, we do. We love our coffee. And then you, I mean, what is your future? I know you're a musician and a singer. Like you are, you're gonna be like stepping out in a band with
Yeah,
this
that's my-
lady?
This is what all I want to do. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
so I am in a new band
She
Yeah.
is.
called Concrete Velvet.
Yes.
And we're going to begin performances in June. So that's probably the most exciting thing going on in my life. And then otherwise, my business is called Catch a Ride.
Catch a ride. And and you're gonna expand. Do you see yourself expanding your fleet?
Yeah, I want a 26 passenger bus next. But I need someone with a CDO, and I don't have one. So I don't know.
Have
We'll
they
see.
taken you to Sarasota? Yeah. No.
Florida? There's
A lot of people from Lancaster go to Sarasota.
Yeah, I'm waiting on that. I've been to Wyoming. They took Wyoming, Colorado. We camped in the Rockies, me and an Amish family. Yeah, I've been to South. We went to see the Badlands and what is it? The president's, what's it called? The president's heads and the
Yeah, that's
Oh,
in
yeah.
South Dakota.
Yeah, South Dakota. The producer. What is? Huh?
Mount
Mount
Rushmore.
Rushmore.
and
Thank
then
you.
Crazy Horse. And then and then I've been to just Pennsylvania and New York.
Yeah.
I got to go to New York City 3 times this year. I have never been.
Wow.
So I love it.
Very fascinating. Well, you know what, guys? Do you have anything else? We're gonna just wrap this show up and just thank you for joining us. We hope that you have gotten some information. Maybe you're gonna dig some of this out yourself and learn a little bit more, because we are a wonderful United States of America and have some amazing people, and your neighbor might be just your new best tribe. Go find you a new tribe if you want to learn more about the Amish. They're amazing people. We love it, and make amazing food. So visit your local, if you've got an Amish market, look that up. Thank you for joining us today. We'll see you next week on Get It Together, y'all. We're here to help.